Alrighty, so this video is just to show some of the tools I use to maintain my bikes and just to walk you through some of the bits that are worth spending money and some of the bits that kind of aren't. Let's just jump straight in. So one of the first tools you're going to want is a decent set of Allen keys. I regard these as literally the best money can buy. They are L keys. I know you can get Park Tool T-wrenches and all that kind of stuff as well, but I just find because these have captive ends, they have a little ball bearing in the end, it just means that they will sort of hold anything in, they'll hold the bolt in there. The design that Wearer use also just means that you can kind of like cinch down with so much torque on these and they'll never knacker the nut, or far less likely to than most others. They're really, really quality, and you begin to know the colour system. So the colour system just means you can know exactly what size you're reaching for from the colours, so that's them. I have a torque wrench. I've got two sizes. This is the one that I just leave in the bike bag because it covers almost everything you're going to need. It goes up to 25 Newton meters. I find when it says you need to do sort of like 40 or something, I know what 40 is, which is basically extremely tight, and that's only really for things like bottom brackets or cassettes. So for those like items where like disc brake calipers and that kind of stuff where you really need to know you're getting it right, it's handy having a torque wrench. This company produce ones that are relatively cheap, and if it's accurate then that's really all that matters. If you're paying for a really expensive one, you're getting nothing more than just the name, so I like them. Screwdrivers, you can spend the earth on these, but again, these are quality. It's really just about the tip on the end of them. I find that some of them you just end up getting through them at some point. I have several sets, but the reason I like these is because they have ends where you can actually just get extra torque by driving them with either a nut or a spanner. They're a relatively cheap set, but they do the job. I always carry electrician's scissors, super useful for doing zip ties and taking jackets off cables and that kind of stuff. They've also got like a stripping part there. I only use these for like, I would never use these on cable. But yeah, electrician's scissors are really useful. These are made by CK, they're brilliant. You can get some other ones, but yeah, these are really good. Speaking of cutters, I have the Park Tool cable cutters. Some of the a lot of the Park Tool stuff is absolutely brilliant. Some of it I think is overpriced, but these are relatively inexpensive. And for the crimping of the little part that goes over the end of a brake cable, and also just for cutting brake cable and gear cable, there is nothing really I regard as good as these. But the only thing is, you have to save these to only be used for that job. Don't be tempted to start doing cable ties or brake housings or whatever, because you'll knacker them, so keep them for that. Staying on that theme, if you want something for cutting brake housings, gear housings, that kind of thing, a bit more all-purpose, then I think the Bacho tools are amazing. Yeah, so these are great. I think they're made in Sweden, but anyway, they're brilliant stuff. And for cutting brake housing, and also for just general purpose pliers, these are really good. Stay with that theme for a bit. So we've got split ring pliers. These are more used in cars and stuff, but you find them on some older bikes. I just always carry them with me. These are ones that are for opening, but you can use them in reverse. You just have to sort of use them, have to, you know, be creative. These are super cheapo ones, but yeah, if you need to break a split pin, then that's what you need. Then staying on pliers, these are Master Link pliers. You can buy lots of different brands. The Toe Peak ones are pretty quality, and you know, for the price point, you really hardly ever use them because it's only really when you're taking off or putting on a chain, which is not a really regular job. So unless you're literally doing it all the time, which I can't see why you would be, then it's an occasional job. So these are pretty well made for that price, and they're light as well, so you know, good to be carried around. So they're good for breaking the Master Link. Speaking of chains, I have the Park Tool chain tool here. Really, really quality as you'd expect, and worth paying for. You want to get that job done right. I actually picked mine up second hand and it was fine, so that's great. I carry some mole grips. These are Bacho. Worth spending money on these as well, because when you do use them, you're always doing a bit of a bodge with them. You're probably not using mole grips if you are doing the right job. So I always think to that end, like, it's worth having some that are really decent, that are really going to grip and not let things spin or thread or scratch stuff. So yeah, worth having them. I've got loads of sets of these big grippers, but these are just Stanley ones, they're cheap. But again, you're really bodging when you're doing something with these, but for certain things they are really helpful. I mean, I don't really use these on the bike. If there's jobs around the house or something to do with cars, then yeah, that's when I'm using these potentially. But yeah, worth having them in the toolkit. They don't weigh that much, and then when you do need something like that, they sure are helpful. Coming on to some of the more specialist tools, so the crank extractor, that's for these. This is Bike Hut, which is from Halfords. I'll get onto Halfords stuff because I do use some of theirs. These Bike Hut bits are actually lifetime warranted, which they will probably break, which is fine because they're lifetime warranted, and Halfords is unlikely to be going anywhere anytime soon, and they have branches everywhere. So to that end, I figure if it breaks, it's really easy to go and get another one. It's not like you have to drive to Sweden. So yeah, it's super easy to get another one, and I like their stuff. So it does the job, it works fine. Chain whip, same thing. This was literally like 3 or 4 quid. You can spend 20 or 30 pounds on them, but honestly, lifetime warranty again. Just keep it and look after it. It'll work for life anyway, probably. But you know, should it break, it's really easy to go and get another one. Got some other screwdrivers and bits that are a little more specialist. I've had this for a million years. It's made by Union. It's just a little simple flat blade screwdriver, but the end is kind of rounded off on a job probably 15-20 years ago, and actually it's really useful for some things, and now I use it for just opening up brake housings and that kind of stuff. And then I've got a really big Phillips screwdriver there as well, and that is the correct size, which I think is 2mm for Shimano gears, for adjusting those. It's just nice to have that in this form rather than an Allen key. That's off an old motorbike, but it's just a reversible. It's always kind of handy doubling up on some of those tools that you just have a million uses for. A couple of files. You don't need the handles on these, but really useful having a file, filing down on brake housing, taking off a burr, something like that. Worth having 2 sizes. I have a double flat-sided one without a handle. I just don't think you need a handle on it. And then I have this one, which is round on one side and flat on the other. Really super cheap. I think literally from a pound shop for a set of 6, but worth having as well. We've got a chain wear tool. This is super handy. It shows you when it's 0.75 and 1% stretched. Yeah, you don't need to spend any money on these. They are literally like 50p or a quid off the internet. This is silver line, doesn't really make any difference. It's like a ruler. If it's the right length, that's fine. Tie levers. I have toe peak, these ones. This one gives you a lot of purchase because it's quite long. Another shorter one. And then I also have the classic Pedros ones. Both good. I probably use these more, but sometimes with a really hard tyre, these are useful. I have the Cyclo tools, and this is the spoke tool, and yeah, got your sizes on there. Just really easy for tightening up or just helping true any wheels if you need to do that. That said, I kind of feel like wheels is a job for the specialist, so unless you have a truing standard and you really know what you're doing, it is worth kind of getting them done, because you'll pay very little money to have the wheels done professionally. But if you are on tour or you need to do a little spoke change just to get you by, then it is obviously worth having this. Don't try and do it with pliers or anything else. You need the right tool. This is like a penknife of Torx. Torx is more and more common these days on everything really. It's a really good bolt, but yeah, this is just handy having these. It's really lightweight and contains all the Torx. I've got 2 sets of Torx, if not 3. So yeah, it's handy to have that size. And then more hex keys. I've had this for a zillion years, but because these fold out, and then you can spin them like this and get loads of torque, it's just, sometimes you don't quite know when you're going to need it, and because it acts like a pen, it can be handy if it's in a hard to reach space, so that is useful too. Sharpie for marking stuff. And then I've got a 3/8 inch bar extension that goes with this kit, which I keep in a little pencil case. It's actually a bum bag. I've just cut the straps off. This is where I keep all of the things to do with the 3/8 inch ratchet. So I've got a T-bar there, which is basically where I can end up having my Allen keys and my Torx on T-bar, because I can put it on 3/8. So I have that. I have an extension bar with some electrical tape wound around. I use, the Bacho 3/8 drivers. You can spend a fortune on these. These are really good combination of money and how quality they are. This is where I also keep sort of those little specialist tools for the kind of one job tools that will all be used with a driver. So we've got, you know, the cassette tool, the bottom bracket tool, all that kind of stuff. The ones with the 12mm through axle. Worth with these, like, just getting ones that, these are all the Halfords ones, again, the Cyclo Tools Halfords. Again, they're lifetime warranted, so like, you snap a tooth off, who cares, because you can just go and get another one. And so that's what all of those are. Then, yeah, little adapters, such as spark plug puller from a motorbike, some other spanners. We can get to spanners now, but before we do that, just in the back, another set of Torx on L-bar, useful, and then the Torx that fit into the driver so they can all go on 3/8. I've got the same for Allen keys as well, they're all tucked away in there. And then last few bits, we've got an adjustable. Really worth buying a decent one, because again, it's not, when you're adjusting it to the size, sure it fits, but it's not the correct spanner for it. So if it has any play or movement in it, you're going to strip it. So really worth buying a quality one that's really well machined. The good thing about this Bacho one is it opens up super wide for the actual overall length of them. Most of the ones that open up this wide are massive, and you just don't need them that big. So yeah, this is like the Bacho 31, I think it is, 200mm. These are still available now, and they have this kind of cool crocodile tooth thing if you just need to get something undone. That said, I don't really use this guy because it's got the potential to thread stuff. I've got another smaller Bacho adjustable that I use. Then I've got my Halfords advanced spanners with the round end at the other end and the open wrench there. So yeah, they're really good. And I've got 19 down to 8. Keep the smaller ones in the other bag. And then I've got all the cone wrenches, all Park Tool. Worth spending money on them. The Pedros one's just as good. I would not go with any of the other makes or cheaper stuff, because like, yeah, when you're using one of these, you need it to not slip, and they're really good. They're just really well made, and I think they're laser cut, so they're really worth it. Keep all of that in a separate pencil case as well, because again, it's just really useful when you want to pull out the spanners. You've got all of them in one place rather than digging around another toolkit for them. Last couple of bits: classic punch repair kit. Got all that stuff as you'd expect. The bottom bracket tool from Park Tool. You don't want to be stripping stuff, so yeah, worth getting the right one for that. And that is the tool for removing the cranks on other kind of Shimano's. Other than that, copper grease, more of a motorbike thing, but and cars thing, but useful having on bikes. And then a bit of Loctite. That is the proper thing you're supposed to use on caliper bolts and that kind of stuff, where it's not meant to be coming undone, working itself loose. You can use a tiny bit of super glue, but this is the right stuff, and it costs so little it's worth kind of having it. It just comes out like a glue stick, so you just squeeze a bit out, rub the bolt on it, and you're good to go. Electrical tapes, I normally have quite a few of these with me. Another set of Torx bits and Allen keys and screwdrivers, so everything can end up on the 3/8 if it needs to. Some hose clamps, and that's basically everything I would take in my toolkit, which all fits into a black military bag, which I'll just pull into frames. So that fits into this guy, and as you can see, it's not very big, it all fits in there. With those pencil cases, it's easy to access stuff. Other than that, in the workshop, I keep one of these little mini grease guns, super handy for doing cone bearings and that kind of stuff, because you can just get it into exactly the right place. It's got a really good nozzle there. Muck off dry lube, it's what I use for the chain. Carbon gripper for when you're doing carbon assembly, and then muck off by degreaser. Other than that, I buy like large quantities of IPA, isopropyl alcohol, and put it into these little holiday spray bottles, so that after you've degrease something, you can then clean it down with this, and you can be sure it is properly clean. So when you're near disc brakes or that kind of stuff. Other than that, I've got a kind of tool chest with a lot of other bits. So this is what I would take. I leave it in the back of my car, and I just have it out and about just to use as a bike workshop. I mean, I do have a lot of other tools, but I would say with that stuff, you are really well on your way to having everything you need to do stuff on your bike. I'm sure I've missed a couple of bits here and there, but you know, things like spirit level, electric drill, that kind of stuff are always useful. But those are the main bits. Hammer, you're obviously going to need, but those might be in your home toolkit anyway. But yeah, let me know if you like the video, and yeah, thanks very much.